is very concerned about privacy and security of data. Right now, as we are talking today, it is something very, very keen people need to look at, and especially you being our trainers. And by the way, you're not only going to train on Facebook, but you're going to train so many other training around the corner that we are trying to negotiate some of the contracts with these people, and even increasing more opportunities, because we are, as I told you, Microsoft has already contacted us and they want us to implement some of the trainings in different parts, not only in Kenya, but also in different parts of Africa, because we are more of global trainers to them. So it is good to know how to deal with privacy and security issues. That's why I think it's good to think about this. So when you talk about data, you know, data right now is everywhere and everybody is online. Everything, every person, everywhere, people are collecting data. This is something I wanted you to really be keen on as you're going to do most of the work, especially the one we're going to do today, as we're going to do this particular assignment which we are giving you. Make sure we may need the data, but of course others need it for wrong purposes. But for the partners we are working with, be it Microsoft, be it any other partner, they need it for innovation. And of course, we are expecting clients or the people we are dealing with, the members will only give us data if they trust us. That is why we have to get privacy and security right. If we don't get it right from the beginning, then we are going to fail. We know you're going to give out forms to collect probably some kind of data, maybe as the attendance and stuff like that. But it's very important, you know, that there is issues. There are policies around data collection and data and privacy or probably confidential issues. I want you to check on that. Maybe I would share this with you people so that you look at it. But in most cases, we need to be committed to privacy and security. That is one thing I want us to know, so that the data you're going to collect from the teachers or the people you're going to train, it should not be misused. You should not share it with another third party. You should not share it with another level or another business person who wants to really get into contact with the teachers. Because you see now people are looking forward maybe to sell some products to the teachers that we are training, or maybe to look for ways of hacking into the teacher's account. Because as we are going and people are losing jobs everywhere, many people are interested. They want to look for data. They're bound to get into different things. They want to violate people's data, and there is a cost to that. If in any way you end up violating data and you're going to work on behalf of iEARN, which is working probably on behalf of the client, then remember this one is going to cost the client almost 4% of the worldwide revenue. And you know that is a huge impact to iEARN, and even probably to you as the trainer who has been chosen as iEARN trainer. So it's very important. You have to know that data protection is very essential to any organization, to any business, and even to the whole country. In fact, I think maybe you are aware that in the country there's act, I think in the Constitutional Act, I think maybe chapter 31, I'll be confirming that. You'll find there's a law and regulation governing data. The only problem, people don't really know about it, and we don't want you to be in that category of people who don't know that there is a law in this country that governs privacy and how to use data, especially that governs data protection. If you are in a position of taking data from people, you must be able to really make sure you know anything to do with data. So I want you to look very keenly, because the idea is how do we control and ensure that there is privacy whenever we are using data, and how do we become very transparent about data collection so that everybody knows why we are making that decision. So let the teachers know that if you are collecting any data from them, it is not because you want to use it to sell it, but you want to use it probably, one, to be able to know the actual number of people attending. Two, you're able to know and probably be able to get their feedback so that we improve maybe the quality of work we are doing to them. So it should be for them and not for us we are not going to do this for our own selfish benefit, or we are going to use it to market some product to them, or we are going to use it maybe to go back and call them and write to them that, look, iEARN is providing this. Now you can give us this. You can buy this from iEARN. You can buy that from iEARN. That is not our policy. We don't want that way of trying to use people's data in a wrong way. So that is one thing that we really need to know. We are a global organization, and we don't want to get into the localized kind of business and a very, very selfish way of dealing with people, and especially dealing with teachers. That is one thing I wanted us probably. You have to get this very, very keenly, because we want to respect the laws that govern and protect the human rights. And one of the human rights is right to privacy and rights to private data. And when you talk about personal data, I'll just define shortly, maybe up front, so that you get it. Some of the things that you need to know, we need to protect when you're taking from people, especially when you're chatting, because they're going to be chatting. They're going to give personal opinion when you're talking, okay? So that we need to look at that. Maybe I'll want to get your questions later, but there's something very important in terms of security. The reason why we have picked Teams as our platform of choice is because Teams value security. And to some extent, we want even anonymity to be part of when they're doing those live events. The people coming in may be able to attend via anonymous links, so that they don't have to report who they are. We need them to be secure. But again, it apparently means after getting those personal data, you must really work on that. So there's something, I want you to look at what we're talking about. I said I'm going to define personal data, and here it is. So any information that links or is linkable to a particular person is personal data and requires protections and control. This is very important, guys, because we are in business, not only business, but we are in educational situation, and we have very many people that we are working with. We have teachers, we have learners, we have youth, we have partners, we have people that we want to work close. And we don't want to be in the category of organizations that are abusing data from the users, or organizations that are using data to be able to look for maybe funding, something like that. Because there are people who are already misusing data. We have known of NGOs who take data of people and they use it to look for funding, and they really make a lot of stories around it. That's not our way. We want to just work in a very clean and very straightforward environment where we respect our partners, because iEARN is a network and we consider every teacher a member. So once we are dealing with them, we want to deal with them with a lot of respect and a lot of maybe honor, or we want to really cherish working together with them. And we don't want anybody to take advantage of our teachers or our youth when we are working with them. So kindly, these are some of the data that identify person directly, their name, because I know you'd want to collect the name, maybe their email addresses, phone number, all this, or even persistent ID, like ID numbers. If you're looking for probably ID numbers, or probably maybe if there are cookies we are going to put on the internet so that it picks their data, and looking at how they are browsing, which sites are they looking for. But let them know that there are people outside there who are busy hunting for this kind of data. And that is why we are teaching them to be very, very vigilant when they are using online platforms, because there are people hunting their personal data for the sake of their own good or for some selfish ways. So kindly look at that. And then there are also data that may not be very directly linked to the person, but they are linkable. You can as well go around and get a way of identifying that person. And probably it can be maybe a data of a daughter, and you want to get to the daughter, so you get to the person, and like somehow you link somebody through that, or maybe the data of a company that or a school that ends up linking the person. So these are some of the things I want you to take care when you're moving around, or even if you don't take care, but I'm very sure among the team you're going to teach, you are going to get people who are going may ask you a question about personal data. How are we sure that when you're talking to us, you're not going to use our personal data for business, for something like that? So it's very, very important. So maybe, I think for us, the data subject is the teacher, or the data subject is the youth that we are going to teach. But otherwise, it is important we know these things, guys, that there is laws governing private data and or personal data, personal stroke confidential data. Remember, and we need to protect it as iEARN trainers, because so far, as you have seen, some of you have already signed contracts around that. We are also going to send you another document, especially that contains your commitment to protecting personal data of people, so that you sign it. That's just besides that, so that whenever you are going to have this data you're collecting from the teachers we are going to train, you are very, 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 very keen not to share the data with somebody whom you don't know, or who's somebody who can end up abusing that data, but you're only going to share it to us, and we are also going to share it with probably the client if at all they need it, or if that is one of the requirements. But I know for Microsoft, we don't usually look for the personal data. Most of the time, we try to run away from personal data. As much as possible, we try as much as possible not to care. But the only question becomes is when you are needed to get the numbers, how do you really prove that you've gotten the numbers if you don't take their personal data? So we really needed to look for ways of engaging around that. So those are some of the questions maybe that is arising in your mind. And remember to know this is very important, guys. It's very important. We learn about the data security, and we are going to protect it. That's why you're saying from the start, beginning now, the way we are saying we are now going to commit you people to go outside there to train on behalf of iEARN. I want you to know very well that we need to think about data protection. If you take any personal data from any teacher, any person that you're going to work with, kindly protect it. Do not share it in WhatsApp group or any place. Do not share it. Let that sharing not come from us. Let that sharing not come from iEARN. Let that sharing not come from anybody. Because if somebody finds it in the wrong place, they can use it against us and you as a trainer. So we don't want you to get into problem at all with the law. Maybe you are not sure this thing is taking place, but I think it is something you need to look around. And so I think maybe protection of intellectual property is something also we are looking at. And maybe these are non-disclosure agreements that apply to both parties. I think maybe, so far, I think we don't have a problem with that. And the rest we are going to do within our organization. One, we are trying to do a lot of prevention. We have put in place control that to be able to look at. Whenever you give us that data, we've already put in place some smart techniques of handling that data. We also track that data and audit the data. We're also going to do a lot of data encryption so that we know which data, then probably separating and ensuring which one is personal, which one is confidential, and what can we do to be able to protect. And even when we are going to dispose of that data, we are always very, very keen in doing that, so that it doesn't really have to look like we are not doing the right thing. I think maybe it is important that you really learn about that, and probably we are going to be I'm going to be sharing with you maybe our data protection probably policy, so that you are able to see what is it about the policy that you really need to really know. So I'm going to share privacy and data protection policy for iEARN Kenya. You have to know this, because this is already, we're talking about the law, and of course there's a law that really governs this, and even the national ICT policy is something you need to really find out what we are talking about. And then there is a cyber security and personal data protection 2014. Remember the convention and all that. We want to really make sure we are following all that. And the Kenya government sensitive personal data We are all, again, focused on that. So we are going to look at all this and share with you this document. You look at it so that at least you know the principle for data protection as iEARN Kenya thinks about it. So that you know, you remember, you are now getting into become an international trainer, and soon you're even going to become an international consultant, because that is the way to go. And when you want to internationalize your career or yourself as a person, start thinking in terms of what is the world thinking. Are we really talking about just maybe just going there and doing things your curly way, or we are doing things with a lot of professionalism? So this is part of the professionalism I was talking about, that make sure we report in case we see somebody is abusing data. Kindly be able to report, and the kind of reporting, we have so many mechanisms of reporting. Remember, from Facebook side, we know how we are reporting or how we've been doing. Maybe in our next, when we are going to get into the next contract or the next assignment, that will include Microsoft or other things, and whenever we are working, kindly we will give you all this so that you are able to know how you can report if you realize somebody is abusing data. And even not only that, I think we have in the policy. In the policy, you will see we have provided several reporting links so that you're able to report to the government, the Minister of ICT, and probably the DCI, so that you are able to really report in case you realize somebody is messing around with data of teachers or data of the people you are training. I think that is something I really wanted just to bring to your attention, so that you know when you are dealing with this, you should be able to answer some of the questions that are going to come along. Because somebody will ask you, why are you taking our details? What is the agenda behind it? Let them know we are not using any details for business, it's promotion. We are not using any detail for the sake of taking anybody and going to make a follow-up call or a follow-up, in terms of a follow-up that is going to be of benefit to any business. But in any case, we are to do any follow-up, it will just be for the sake of that particular person and improving either our content or our services, and finding out, as part of monitoring and evaluation, whether what we gave them was quality, whether it met their expectation, and whether we really did a good job in satisfying what they are keen on observing. So it should be seen that whatever data we are collecting is more for them and not for us. So guys, I think it is good to take you through that. That's what I wanted you to get very briefly. Then probably we can check on the progress of what we are working on. I'm happy that most of us are good. So unless there's any question from your side before I close this, so that we get to the next agenda. Anybody with a question, especially on data protection and security? Because in the policy, you'll see we have put in place several procedures, all of them before, in terms of which data you're collecting, what do we do with that data, how do we dispose of the data once we are done using it for the purpose intended, how do we dispose it? That's one thing you have to know, so that we just don't play around, work around with files running around. This is Excel file containing the list of trainers or the teachers who've attended a particular training. What do you do with that data? How do we dispose it? And how secure is that data? How do we make sure that nobody else, any third party member, is not reaching it? And in case we have to share your data with somebody else, we need to tell you in advance and get your consent before using it for any other purpose. That is all that is in our policy and also in the government. There is a hand here from Maxwell. Kindly just go ahead and say something, sir.
Yes,